She went towards the light, and I was like, "Don't go towards the light, Kari. You're gonna die."
Yeah, it's fine. When you are the light, then you can
Yeah.
go towards the light, I guess.
Here's the new villain. We beat the new villain. We move on. Here's the new villain. We beat the new villain. We move on. Here's the new villain. We beat the new villain. We move on. Here's the new villain. We beat the new villain. We move on. Here's the new villain. We beat the new villain. We move on.
Run. Welcome to Potages, your critically nostalgic analytical tour of the Digimon anime. This week we're discussing Digimon Adventure 2020, episode 33, The Hikari of Dawn. I'm your host, Jeff Ruberg, and I'm excited to welcome back My Hero Academia and Haikyuu podcaster Kendra.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. Happy to be on again.
So it's been... Last time you were on was for episode 19, the one with Leomon's introduction, I believe. And that was a long time ago. So I'm kind of curious to explain for listeners, like, how have you been keeping up with the show? Or did you fall off and then get back into it?
I definitely fell off. I watched like 2 episodes after that, and then I just kind of forgot about it. And then you suggest, like, oh, there's going to be a Kari episode coming up. Do you want to be on? And I was like, okay, I need to catch up. And you were very nice, and you gave me a list of episodes, and I watched those, plus a bit more. And it was really fun. I definitely want to go back and catch up for real. I do want to check up. Is Leomon dead yet? He's still alive, right?
Unclear.
Okay.
I guess so. The list I gave you of episodes to, like, I thought were like plot important to understand what's going on now. I told you to, like, I recommended the Dundevimon episode 24, where they fight Dundevimon and they close out that arc. And then, wait, where was the
Swimming to the next arc, or like the one after that? Yeah.
26 when they swim to the next? That is when, is that not the one where Leomon is dealt with?
I don't really remember.
Maybe it was in 27.
I
Because
think,
there's like one scene where they're Leomon kind of like stays on the turtle and then sends everyone else off the turtle.
Okay, I think I missed that one.
Oh, okay. But even if you had seen that, so it must be in episode 27 then. Even if you had seen it, it would still be ambiguous because they kind of like, they get struck by lightning and there's a big cyclone in the water. But the turtle, the giant turtle, Eldoradimon, and Leomon, and the Leomon's like sidekicks just disappear, and it's like, are they dead or not? I mean, they're probably not dead because they probably would have made a bigger deal about it, but I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, I guess that swimming to the next arc one I thought was relevant because that's when Kari gets brought into the Digimon world, right? And then the splitting up the group because that's when Kari gets kidnapped.
Oh, that was really scary.
Episode 30 for War Greymon's debut because I thought War Greymon would look cool. I realized after I made the list for you that it ended up being kind of like every other episode. It was like all the even numbered ones, and I was like, oops.
I think the ones that I watched the Lopman info drop because I was like, okay, I want to kind of have a better idea what's happening. And Lopman, I really recognize him. I feel like he was in one of the movies or something. Yeah,
there was the movie that came out in America that was like the combination of 3 different movies. That last third of it was like there were the twins, Lopmon and Terriermon was the one that was the protagonist, and Lopmon was like corrupted and was like the evil version. I don't know if they saw them in that form much in the movie because they're mainly in like the fully evolved evil form, but they probably had like flashbacks to like, oh, when they were friendly kids.
Is that the one where they have like guns for hands?
That's the other Terriermon, the other version. The Terriermon's evolution has, he like evolves, and then Willis is like, oh no, Davis is like, he's got pants now because he has pants and guns and yeah.
Sorry, but that just struck out to me. I'm like, wait, I know what this is because a lot of the Digimon I don't recognize, so I was happy that I was like, okay, I got this.
No, Lopmon's confusing because it's like he's part of like, in a lot of different incarnations of Digimon, he's part of like a holy trio with Patamon and Gatomon, and it's like the 3 of them are part of a trio, but then he's also part of a like twin pair with Terriermon, so it's like, I definitely remember before I started rewatching the show like 6 years ago, whatever, that I was like, wait, like Lopmon and Terriermon, they're so confusing. They're very similar looking. And then there's even in one of the seasons, Cross Wars, there's a white Lopmon. So it basically, like if you look up Terriermon and Lopmon, like one of them has 3 horns, one of them has 1 horn. But other than that, it's just a skin color difference. But then there's a white Lopmon that looks identical. But anyway, that's a whole.
The white one's creepy. Like I'm on the page for it. I don't like the white one. It was too much.
But yeah, so I thought you'd be really interested in the Kari stuff. How have you felt about the lead up to this episode and like the building up of Kari.
I got a little bit annoyed at Kari because she was like staring off into the distance, like, "Oh, what do you see?" And she's like, "I don't know." And it's like, "You see a feather, Kari. Just say feather." Like, I got like a little annoyed that she was very much kind of like the mystical, not talky child. But I really like. I think Tai Chi's kind of like how scared he was when she vanished. I think was really cool, and how like confused everyone was when she was suddenly there, and like she was called here. She doesn't have a Digimon, and they kind of like realize, like, I think also I like that Tai Chi's like, she's Digidestined, right? And they're like, yeah, she is. And it's like, oh, okay. This kind of makes sense. And like, I guess I got really annoyed, like, with her like weird not kidnapping.
Like her kind of going along with it.
Yeah. And I guess I almost want to have like a flashback scene of what happened, but I guess it could just be like, oh, she felt the call to go, so she's just like, okay, I will.
Yeah, I guess they kind of address that this episode, but it's still kind of like, it seems like she's just kind of like, okay.
And I swear, like, this episode, it felt like she was like possessed or like hypnotized at one point. Like, the blue eye Kari is gonna haunt my dreams.
Yeah.
But I think for just in general, the base Digimon stole the show. Like, I really liked Eldoradomon and also the weird dog bus.
Oh yeah, Commandomon. Yeah, they're riding.
I love them. Is there some kind of gag with Kamadomon with the name? Because usually the names are like puns on stuff.
I think it's the type of dog that it's based on.
Oh,
but
that makes sense.
Let me double check this. It's like, I don't think it's a very common Commandor, a Hungarian breed of dog.
Ah, because I was trying to search it, but I couldn't spell the name right. So I was just like, what? I was like trying to search dog Digimon, and it wasn't working.
Oh.
But it's basically the cat bus, and I love it a lot.
There is, oh my god, like, if you look up, I'm going to send you a link to the Wikipedia page for the Commandor dog, and it's like, the initial image is like, okay, just like a dog with lots of fur. But then there's further down the page, the caption is a fully corded coat of this dog, and it's just like, it does look like the dog bus in the show. It's like all the way to the floor, like.
That's very cute. Kind of like a sheepdog, but livestock dog, very furry.
I don't remember which episode it was. In one of the the Digimon Analyzer sequences at the end. It might have been last episode or 2 episodes ago. Like the sequence was about Commandomon, and Koshiro said that Commandomon has 8 legs and runs around like a spider underneath the fur. So that kind of like removes the cuteness for me. But it also it like we're talking about Kappas, like it does feel very Ghibli-esque, because I'm imagining the what's that thing in like Spirited Away that like is like managing like the furnace and has all those different legs.
Okay, I'm not remembering it, but I trust you.
It maybe might exist. I don't know. But it feels like that mix of like fun cuteness, but also horror feels very Ghibli-esque. So.
And I really liked the evolution to War Greymon, but I was thinking it was going to be Skull Greymon's debut, and Skull Greymon I think like traumatized me as a child, or it's like the part I really remember from the original series, so I keep wanting them to bring it back, but it's good because I think it's a little too scary, even though this is like, I feel like it's a lot darker than the Digimon I remember, but I think Digimon was already pretty dark. But that was very fun, and I'm kind of sad the group separated again. Is there any more explanation on what the hell is going on with Joe?
I don't think I think even if you skipped around, no, not really. He basically just like ended up in a hot spring with a bunch of Nanimon, the little men who are just a ball of hair, kind of.
Yeah, I'm just like, and it's like they're basically Y men because it has like Nani on them, and I'm just like,
yeah.
Has he been in there for days? Like,
I think it's been less than a day, but he's been stuck there. And at first he was like, just like it was too awkward to get up when there was like one Nanimon face like staring at him. But then there were several, and now there's the Blossomon that's like attacking him as well. And it's like, I just feel bad because all of the other kids are like, oh, Joe's fine. Like, Goemon got it handled. I'm like, he's getting attacked. Like,
yes, like like Censormon, who's like, you cannot get up and show your genitals. Stay down. But he needs to relax, so it's good. Hot springs are relaxing, so he can just like chill out.
I feel like they kind of went backwards because a couple, if it was maybe last episode or a couple episodes ago, I don't remember how long he's been in the hot spring, but at one point it was kind of like he had been in the water so long that he was getting dizzy and was about to pass out.
Oh no!
So I'm like, maybe he moved to like a cold bath instead. And
That's why I was asking you several days, because I was like, it's really bad for your skin. Like, your skin like changes if you're in the bath for too long. It like gets wrinkled. So I was just like, oh no, Joe.
in your head, like you're gonna pass out if you're there too long. Like,
and Joe and Mimi are like my secondary faves to Kari. So them not being in it, I'm like, But it's still like really fun. I really want Sora to get a super evolution, but it's not super evolution, but basically the whatever War Grey on it. I was like, give the other guys evolutions.
yeah, I think they will get them, but it's a matter of like how much fanfare will they get when they get them and how long we'll have to wait.
But I did really appreciate that the evolutions feel really earned, and even though now like they're doing them really quickly, just because they did all the stuff before, like all the build up really worked for it. So I kind of appreciate it that like, I don't know, the evolutions work for me.
Okay. Because yeah, it felt like for a long stretch it was like, oh, they're all just like back to back. They're all happening one after another. But now it's been like, I think it ended in like episode 17 or so. And so it's been like 15 episodes since then, since there's been like a major evolution. So it has been, is that right? Has it really been that long? That can't be right. Anyway, so like, I think that this new one too, War Greymon and Pegasmon like feel a lot more earned.
Oh yeah, Pegasmon really surprised me. I was just like, what? And also gave me a really wrong idea for the current episode, because I spent most of the current episode trying to guess which one was Gatomon. I thought she was the Black Horse.
Yeah, that was my leading theory, because like that Dark Mailgemon is, I forget if that came up in the episode we were on last time, because Dark Mailgemon is like the non-dark version is actually an evolution of Gatomon.
Oh.
So it's like, I mean, that was very plausible, but I guess not.
I thought I was being silly. I was just like, there's something up with that horse. Because, like, I was thinking, like, why else would Kari go along? Would it be like, I have your Digimon right here?
Yeah, I guess in this episode, like, it's a little bit unclear if, like, Gatomon's data being inside Dark Knightmon, does that mean that Dark Knightmon was Gatomon the whole time? Or is it like, was she being kept prisoner inside him? Or like, it's a little bit unclear. They could, I feel like next episode they could, like, Gatomon could say, oh, that was me. Or Gatomon could say, I was kidnapped by him. Or I was swallowed by him. But
I hope, like, we get a flashback or something, or we see kind of, like, more Kari's perspective ever since she was kidnapped, but who knows?
Yeah, it's true. Otherwise, she was just, standing there? Being like, okay, cool.
Like, when she was kidnapped, and she was just standing there, I was like, jump off! Like, do something if you don't want to be there. But that's like, I don't know, Kari is like 6. Like, she's young. It's like, I don't blame her.
Yeah, it's like, and it was, for a stretch there, it was like, oh, it's really intriguing how she's so into this idea. She's so mysterious, but it's like, now we've gotten the answer to the mystery, it's like, it would be nice if there was more to her thought process.
And I think that's all my thoughts really for my catch-up. I'm definitely going to go back and watch more, but it was mainly just, I really like the base Digimon, and Eldoradomon is my favorite Digimon to ever exist.
Well, I'm glad you liked the episodes in between. Like, I was worried that I was like, I gave you the fast track because I was like, oh, it's going kind of downhill. I don't want you to like have to watch too much, but it's good to hear that you enjoyed them so much that you want to go back and watch more. All right, well, let's dive into this week's episode 33, the Hikari of Dawn, aka the Hikari of Yawn, aka Bye Kari, Hi Kari.
That's right, that's my favorite one.
Aka A Tailmon as Old as Time. And the spoiler policy for this week, like every time, we'll be talking about everything in the Crunchyroll episode for this week, including the title and preview for next episode, and everything that was in the original adventure is fair game, they might spoil, but we will not talk about anything, be it any titles or synopses for anything beyond next week, or any other seasons aside from the original adventure, without fair warning. I might spoil things, but I'll let you know beforehand. So yeah, a quick recap of the events of this episode. We basically see a cult of Vedamon worshipping a giant crystal.
I was convinced they were aliens. I was just like, what is happening? I was massively confused. I was just like, this was the most mind-boggling thing.
I mean, Digimon is weird enough that it's like, are they like? I never really questioned how they are alien Digimon. They're definitely aliens.
Yeah.
But like, I never considered that means like, if the digital world is an analog of our world, right? Our Earth, does that mean that there's like alien planets in the digital world? That these are like, like alien, like the digitized versions of other worlds in space?
Ooh.
Like, I never even considered that as a possibility.
Or maybe like people talked about aliens enough online that it created these or something.
Oh, that's good lore.
Because I found it really cool how just like there's the disasters and then people talking about the disasters also feeds the Digiworld. And I was like, that's messed up. It's really cool.
I looked up the like official lore of this Digimon
Yeah.
in the Japanese like reference book and stuff,
Mhm.
and it's very disappointing. It just says that an alien Digimon shaped like something that came from the far reaches of the cosmos. It is rumored that it might have been born from the seed of a plant. That's it. Like,
Aww.
that's weird. Like I like your story better.
Mhm.
But yeah, so Taichi spots Skull Knightmon heading to a crystal. Skull Knightmon summons more crystals out of the ground. Vedamon talks about sending data to Faga, which is
Yeah.
not MAGA, thankfully, but still a weird acronym that we don't know anything about. Skull Knightmon and Hikari start glowing. Bergamon fights Dark Milgemon. Pegasmon fights some Evilmon. Taichi tries to grab Hikari. She falls through a portal, and I'll have things to talk to you about that. But Hikari wakes up in a cave, walks towards a light. Tailmon starts to form. Metal Greymon involves War Greymon, bursts through Dark Knightmon, just like through his body to save Hikari.
Yes.
And then Millenniumon, the Vedamon doing their Millennium Revival ceremony stop, and the Vedamon are disappointed. And then Tailmon introduces herself as a Holy Digimon and hugs Hikari.
Yay.
So yeah, did that reunion? I don't know if you call it reunion. Did that hug feel emotional to you at all?
I think so, just because I think Patamon a few episodes ago was talking about how long he was waiting for TK. And so then, like, I'm just kind of imposing that over on Tailmon and being like, she waited a long time and she, like, already knew her. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. But also, what is happening?
Yeah, I'm curious to hear more about that, like that weird dynamic of like they have existed for this whole time and they had this whole past life that they were like these ancient figures, but they also, like the original show, knew they were destined for these partners the whole time. So it's like it's weird for them to have like I totally accept it for the main Digimon. The main Digimon seem to not remember their past life much. So it's like, okay, you have like your past life where you were this ancient warrior and then that ended and then you're reborn, you have a totally separate life with your destined human or whatever. It's weird for these holy Digimon to have both sets of memories and to like, I don't know, just weird to imagine them going through the whole past life, the whole time being like going through an entire like lifespan, thinking about like, oh, well, in the next life I'm gonna meet this other kid, this tiny little kid. I can't wait to meet that kid. Like,
and it's not even like life; it's like thousands or like however many world years. And it's just like that's what I kind of really liked in the original series when Gatomon like was on the evil side for a while, and because she was like alone, and I really like that angle. Well, now it kind of feels like, oh, they're together. It's easy now.
Yeah. The whole time, the whole 33 episodes building up to this point, I was like, how are they going to handle Gatomon differently? Are they going to make her evil this time? Are they going to separate her? I think we still like a big question now is like, why is she reforming as Tailmon instead of, actually I forget the name. Is it
Salamon?
I think it's Salamon in the dub and then Platmon in the original Japanese.
Ah, okay. Oh, that's like they said Tailmon in this, and I was like, what?
But I guess that's easy enough to roll with because, like, okay, she has a tail, sure.
Yeah, but it's and that's like some of the names I don't like because it's like it's a lot more blunt. I guess maybe like I forget in the dub if they were like a bit less on it, but it's fine. They're supposed to be jokes or kind of like more like direct like puns or references. So like, eh.
Yes, some of them they like I think were a little too obvious, so they made it a little bit like Tailmon. I think it was like, okay, well, it's just like a part of a body.
Yeah.
But I think really like whatever name you get used to sounds normal after a while. Like everyone found it ludicrous to call a game console a Wii, and now it's like a Wii is like the most like normal thing to call a game console these days.
It's kind of whatever you get used to. I think that's like I kind of have with sub versus dub. Where it's like whatever I listen to first, I like. It's basically.
Oh yeah, the thing that I mentioned when I was going through the recap that I wanted to loop back around and talk to you about is that moment. We got a couple of comments about this, so I'm sure we'll bring it up again there. But that moment when Hikari's falling through the dark portal and Taichi's reaching out to her was very Bakugo getting absorbed in My Hero
Oh,
Academia.
yeah,
But the more I think about that connection, the more I'm like, oh, but that was so good in My Hero, and this is not
yeah.
like, or like, it's not that it's not good, but it's like I really like that moment in My Hero Academia is like one of the strongest moments to me, where it's like they're doing all this effort to save Bakugo, and then he's like rejects their help, and you think that he's going to be tempted to the dark side. And spoilers for
Yeah.
My Hero Academia's season 2. Is that season 2 or 3?
2, 3 maybe.
Yeah, so it's like it's such a common shonen manga anime trope to have have a character like Bakugo be tempted by the dark side. So it's like, oh no, you know exactly what's coming, and then he like lets himself get captured, but then is like, like fights. I guess he doesn't let himself get captured, but he ends up getting captured and still resists, and is just like is so holds true to his convictions so strongly. And there's so much. There's even more like beyond that arc, like he's like traumatized by that arc kind of. So it's like in comparison, I feel bad about this. This scene is just
because like Kari doesn't even do like if she says like because she says something we don't see it, but if she'd actively like turned away, but instead like it looks like she's possessed. Like it doesn't feel like it's Kari. Like her eyes turn blue. She says something, but she just like she's passive. Like it's that she's not reaching out. I do like that later on she actually reaches out to Tailmon, and that like is kind of something that she actually did, because like I rewatched again because I was like, did Kari do anything? But she actually like got up in the weird tunnel and like went looking. She went towards the light, and I was like, don't go towards the light, Kari, you're gonna die. But it's light crest or whatever, so I was like, okay, Kari, it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine when you are the light, then you can go towards the light, I guess.
Yes. And because this episode is called Hikari, does it basically mean light?
Yeah, it does. And I don't know how I feel about this episode being the subtitle, like the translation, the official translation being the Hikari of Dawn, because I basically like for it to be called, well, yeah, so in Japanese it's unclear. It's totally ambiguous whether this is Hikari the name or light the concept. The only thing that tips its hat towards maybe being more likely as the name is that it's written in katakana, whereas Dawn is written in kanji. But that also is how you would, if you were trying to like emphasize a word, you might also write it in katakana. And next episode, which is titled Hikari and Tailmon, the Hikari is written in the same way in katakana. So like I can see why a translator would think that this is the most obvious pick. But like after having watched the episode, I'm like, this is a very disappointing episode for if it's titled after the character Hikari.
Yeah.
If it's titled after the vague concept of light, then I don't mind the title so much. It's like, oh, The Light of Dawn? Okay, yeah, that was a good episode. But if it's like an episode titled after the character Hikari, I'm like, she didn't do anything this episode.
I know. That's what I feel like. It's almost like next episode's going to be the big one. It kind of reminds me of when she came into the digital world. You recommended that one, and I watched the one after that because I was like, and now she's going to talk. But she didn't. But that's like part of her character almost. Like I think he even mentions like she was always kind of weird and like very quiet. So it's like, okay. But I want more.
Yeah.
But there was a really cool moment when like Kari was kind of covered by the weird like miasma, like almost northern light looking stuff. There's a really cool music change where it goes like and like very spooky sounding, and I just really like that. And I do have to say, becoming Dark Nightmon, I'm just like Batman. It was just so distracting.
That's one of those names that I was like, okay, so like I never really questioned it, and I was like, wait, it's just Dark Knight. He's just the Dark Knight? Wow, okay, great name there.
And it was kind of cool, like, oh, there's like the Millenniumon, they gotta resurrect him, and like it's interesting, like Skull Knightmon they're both sacrifices. Skull Knightmon is chosen and Kari is wanted. And they both get someone into darkness. It was like trying to figure out what that was, and kind of just the fact that I think Skull Knightmon has to be some kind of car or Digimon thing just because she resonated with him and caused him to digivolve. Or just the source of his power being that, but I don't know if like Digidestin can do that to other Digimon.
I think that was more him like getting power from the crystal.
Ah,
But they
okay.
were both glowing at that time, so it's like I can see that's a little ambiguous.
Yeah.
And like you were mentioning before about her eyes glowing, like I can buy her being like passive or like very chill about the situation because she's like curious about hearing some voice or something. But the moment where her eyes are glowing and she's like looks possessed, like yeah, that's the point where it's like, yeah, I feel like we do need some more explanation of like what she was feeling in the moment. Like, but I also feel like they've given her so little dialogue that it's like they just hope we don't question it and move on to the next thing.
Especially because then she immediately goes to like, "Oh, he'll save us. I know he'll save us." And I was like, "He has to save you at the right time." Like, what did you? I want a flashback to what she said. Did you say like, "Just give me a little bit more time," or like, "The don't come, big brother," or something? Like, that was a little odd.
Yeah, it's like I think it's like a nice, sweet moment where it's like, okay, she had a plan the whole time, kind of. It's a little weird because I just watched an arc of Lost where there's like two characters held captive. One of them helps the other one escape and then says, "Don't come back for me."
Oh.
And then she does come back for him, and then he's like, "What are you doing? I told you not to come back for me. I had things handled." And this is the opposite of that, where it's like Hikari's like doesn't say anything. Taichi does come back to her, and then she's like, "Yeah, I wanted you. Thanks. I knew you would do this." It's like, I guess that makes sense. It's just the opposite of what I expected because but yeah, it's weird because yeah, like it would be nice to see. I don't think there's enough here to really expound into like a full episode of flashbacks and stuff. But yeah, it would be nice to like to see that she had known that like okay, she's tempted by this voice, but she also trusts her brother. But like it's a weird decision to like expect that he would know. I don't know. We don't really know much about their relationship, so we never really see them interact normally.
Yeah, I do really appreciate though when he finally gets to her, like she kind of apologizes, and but he kind of like I think he kind of like grabs her hand or something, like he's kind of like reassuring himself, and he also says like, "Oh, don't wander off." Like she didn't get like weird cape teleported away. She didn't move. It just was this really scary kidnapping.
Well, it reminds me of I don't remember if this might have been in some of the episodes that I told you to skip over, but when Takeru joined up and it was Taichi, Yamato, and Takeru, and they're getting before they get to Devimon's castle, Takeru like Yamato would like before battling would be like put Takeru to the side like behind a bush and be like, okay, Takeru, stay here, stay put. And then like multiple times Takeru would like wander off and be curious about something, and then and it's like and Yamato every time would be like, oh, okay, well you found this thing that helped us, but like next time listen to me. And the next time he would tell him the same thing and Takeru would wander off again. It's like clearly he's not listening.
Yes.
So like Hikari kind of did that, except going along with the enemy. But also, yeah, she didn't really choose, just stayed still and let it happen.
But I really liked, I think it was when Yamato kind of like left like his brother with one of the other kids for a bit, and I was like, oh, that's like it's very much like him leaving like all of his trust there, and I was like, but I don't know, I'm ready for Kari to do something because like we got, I keep wanting to, I forget TK. TK's the brother, right?
Yeah.
But I like he got that moment when he kind of like digivolved his Digimon in a different way. Like he wasn't able to get the Angelmon, but we get the Pegasusmon now. And like I don't know how they can really do that for Kari without like copying it, but I just want Kari to like be a character.
Yeah, I don't want to compare this show too much to individual plot beats of the original show, but like the whole premise of Hikari like giving herself up to the enemy is so reminiscent of in the original show. I don't know how much you remember this when basically like there's Myotismon's minions are like, you know, searching through Tokyo for the eighth child, and she knows that they're looking for her, and they're like capturing the people and like holding them captive and stuff, and she basically like gives herself up because it's like, okay, you'll stop tormenting everyone else if I just give myself up to you, right? And they're like, okay, yes. And then she gives herself up, and it actually happens in a moment when Taichi ran off somewhere, so he like gave Hikari to Yamato and was like, watch over her for me while I'm gone. And so like the fact that Yamato feels guilt because he let her get captured, kind of like he wasn't able to protect Taichi's sister and stuff, and there's like all these interesting dynamics, and her giving herself up was her own active choice, and it like speak to her own character of basically of self-sacrifice, and like, you know, because that kind of her whole character in the original show was like not speaking up if something was bothering her because she didn't want to inconvenience everyone else. And so like and all ties into all these different things, whereas in this version it's like it's all that stuff is almost there, but it's just lighter, it's like watered down.
I just like, I don't know, just letting Kari talk a bit more, like interacting with other characters would have been great. But I guess it's kind of like the speed run a bit of it. And now they're gonna like maybe hopefully go more in depth because they still have a lot of episodes left, I think.
Yeah, so like one of the vague rumors is there's one listing that said it was going to be 66 episodes, which would mean this is like only the halfway point. But that other listing, that rumor, that vague listing could have been wrong, and it could be like normal length of Digimon season, like roughly 50 episodes or so.
Okay.
But even if it's that shorter estimate, then that's still like almost 20 episodes left. So
as long as it's not ending like the next 2 episodes, I'm happy because it's like delve like a little bit more into Kari. And also, I was convinced, I forgot to mention it, that Mimi was going to get like a ruby mine or something and start like digging up those things. But she has like, now they're just showering her in money and like tossing her, or gems and tossing her around. And I was like, okay.
I was really hoping for, because there's, I guess that's kind of not really relevant anymore, but for a while, Skull Nightmon was carrying around that crystal that had Millenniumon in it, and Mimi was also digging up crystals, and I was like, oh man, there are going to be some wacky hijinks when they mix up the crystals, and that would be great, but no, of course not.
That would be cool. And Millenniumon is definitely scary, and I'm just like, what is happening? I'm just looking through my notes. Oh, I just want to say the brains yelling very monotone and shame is so funny.
Yeah, they the things that they remind me of are like just the way they speak is very the aliens in Toy Story, the alien toys with the crane. And actually not sure that there's a tweet that I saw going around the past couple of days that was like, it was just the video of them, I think it may have just been like a still image with the like sound of them going like ah, and I'm like, I don't know if that's from Digimon or if it's the noise from the toys in Toy Story. But the other thing it reminded me of was the just the idea of this like cult that came out of nowhere and is suddenly reviving the enemy. I was like, this is very Rise of Skywalker.
Oh yeah.
But also they keep talking about like, I guess it's clear. I didn't really get this until I went back and rewatched the episode and like paid careful attention to what they were saying. But I guess they're implying that the place where they were is that Faga thing, FAGA thing, because they say like, oh, Millenniumon's data is being transferred to Faga, and then by the end of the episode, the data seems to be there with them. So I'm guessing that's what it is. Also, I have no idea what Faga means or stands for. The only theory I could find that has like seems to maybe have some credence is that apparently it's like in some circles is an acronym for like 4 of the big tech companies like Facebook, Apple, Google, and Amazon. But also when I tried to fact check that, I found all I could find was a Wikipedia article that mentioned that it was like the Wikipedia article references as GAFA, not FAGA. So I'm like, I don't think that's what FAGA means, but maybe.
Federal. I have no idea. That really threw me for a loop where I was just like, what? And it was like, there's kind of like the head like weird thing talking, and it's talking to the other ones who are repeating it. And the first time I watched it, I thought it was the Dark Knight Mon talking and them repeating it, but there was definitely a leader. So I was like trying to like sparse that out.
I think one thing that is a weird pattern through these episodes is that they never actually gave a normal voice actor to Dark Knight Mon.
Oh yeah.
Like I think there are like a couple lines where Dark Knight Mon talks, but it's like a weird uncredited Vocaloid. So I think the Vetamon were important to be there just to explain what's happening.
Yeah.
Which I guess kind of works, but like it's more just a sign of how the series doesn't characterize its main characters very much, doesn't characterize its side characters at all,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't and then sometimes characterizes its villains a tiny amount.
And then they killed them.
Yeah, yeah.
Ogremon.
Oh yeah. Ogremon was I forgot how nice that was. How nice we
uh,
had it back then.
yes. Because I remember he like scared me because his face never changed, and I was just like, I don't like you, but he was cool. And I kind of confused him with like Skull Knight or Skull, whatever Skullmon, because I was like, wait, was he friends with him or were they not friends? I don't think they were friends.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we didn't see them interact, but
Mm-hmm. And they were talking a bit about the ISS, and it just made me think of Dr. Stone. So I was just like thinking about that the entire time. And it's just cool to see, like, they kind of like told us the solution. Like, they could use their thrusters to escape, but they probably can't access it. So, like, they're gonna find some way, or I don't know. Maybe aliens will attack. Like, the aliens will enter the world.
maybe the aliens will defend them, and like we've come
Ooh.
to stop the. No, I don't.
Yeah, like that's kind of all my thoughts. I think for the episode.
Yeah. All right. I think I got all my thoughts out too. So I guess we should move on to through reviews. All right. So first off, at Drew Softman, Full Metal Alchemist voice. I don't know what that's referring to.
Full Metal Alchemist. It's because that's what Dark Knight Mon sounds like.
Oh, okay,
That's what it is. Because I didn't get it at first because I read that, but I just understood. And then at Andy Lucas OE, stay back, Taichi. And then there's a Bakugo video probably of him being like, "Don't come near."
Yeah, they intercut the video of Taichi reaching out and Bakugo getting sucked up by the void. At Empire Will, crystals exploded weird.
They were definitely weird. At Bored Individual, weep for Axe Knightmon.
CRR McRae, Hikari says words.
Yay! I was so happy. At Dot Yawning, Hikari got lines.
At McLovin B18, ultimate sibling trust.
At Golden Pelt, Tailmon purpose unclear.
I just realized for McLovin B18, usually when I see a name that has letters at the end, or sorry, a name that has numbers at the end, I'm like, oh no, is that the year they were born? And I'm like, could this person be born in 2018? No, they'd be 3 years old. Never mind.
No.
At CC Takato, Tailmon deserve more.
At Mega Dramon 22, Gataman was saved.
Dak and Jackster scarcely avoided catastrophe.
At Pastelmon _art, Meldramon theory cracked. I think, is that the horse?
Yeah, the horse was Dark
okay.
Knightmon. Yep. I mean, really, Dark Knightmon was the one that got cracked by Grandma just bursting through him.
I know, like, was she was like inside of him? That was weird. I like thought she got teleported somewhere else, but apparently not.
Yeah. Also, like, what if War Grandma had burst through like 2 feet more to the left and just like torn through Hikari too? Like, at Lucas Kukas said, Vedamon Hype Squad.
Woo! Which one's Vedamon?
Oh, Vedamon's the alien brain.
Oh yeah,
thing.
no, I don't.
You don't like them.
They're so gross. At Giga Draymon 22, Millenniumon's esoteric order. Yeah.
At Joseph Nosif, super mega dope.
At Togetic 2, sure, I guess. Which is fair.
At Grim Catician, wish I cared.
At Leo Sketch, obvious twist, obvious.
At Digi X Mon, probably won't matter.
At Ursum _Rabalek, fun but expected.
And I guess we're ending on a negative note, but Hexorus Queen, not well animated.
At Matty Flu 08, worst Digimon season.
And finally, First Agent ARP, lazy as always. Ooh, yeah. Let's get into some listener questions. First off, from at Leo Sketch, and they said, this is absolutely lazy writing, and I know this show's sole existence is to sell toys/children's card games, but there's no excuse or explanation as to why Tailmon's in her adult form other than it was like that in the original anime. Yeah, she was reborn to Yukimi Obatamon, it would be a repeat of Takara with Poyamon, but at least Hikari would have something similar to character development. So far, she has no knowledge of this world or what's even going on, so why should she care? What do you guys think? So my reaction to this complaint about that we have no reason for why Tailmon is in her adult form, her champion form here, is that it's too soon for us to judge that, I think. Like, if they give no explanation next episode or ever, then yeah, I'll be frustrated. But like, she's just been introduced. She just said hi, and we haven't heard anything more yet. So like, I think I have to give it at least the benefit of the doubt for another week, at least.
Yeah, I think like it didn't really occur to me until I read this. I was like, oh yeah, it doesn't really make any sense because I always forget like that is her champion form. So and it's so small, so it kind of like makes sense. But it could be just excused like, oh, they were already like experimenting on her, like sending energy, like the energy that was like transmitted, like sent her to the next level or something. But I think it's mainly just to sell toys, and it's like more recognizable.
Yeah, and I guess actually now that I think about it, when Takaru met Patamon, he actually met him as Angemon, right? Like
Oh
when
yeah.
they found Angemon, and then Angemon sacrificed himself and then got reborn and then built himself back up to Patamon and then can't get back up to Angemon. So maybe what they're implying here is that like for the past however many decades or years or whatever since the original when they had that war or whatever, maybe they were stuck as Tailmon and Angemon for a while, and it's just Angemon that actually like got broken out of that and fell down to Patamon, but Tailmon never got sacrificed in that way. That could be what they're going for. That would be, if that's the answer, that would feel kind of unsatisfying to me though, because I hope it's more something like we were saying, like maybe she's been like infused with dark energy or something that like pumped her up or something. Yeah, I mean, the way it worked in the original show, where it's like she had been abused so much that she had to fight back to survive, like that made a lot of sense and worked really well and was a good character beat. But we'll see.
It could be maybe that like instead, like I don't know if like Angelmon has kind of like managed to stay at the same and kind of like fall down. If like maybe there's something like keeping her at that level, or I don't know. I'm definitely interested in what the next episode, or if they're like they are interested in exploring that at all.
Yeah. I went into this question being like, they're definitely going to explain it next week. Like, come on, like, just wait a week to find out. But now that I mentioned that, like, the fact that Angemon also stayed Angemon before, and now I'm worried they're not going to explain it at all, and it's just going to be left to the audience to make that connection. So I hope that's not the case. But my track record of like hoping things will be addressed in the next episode, I've been let down almost every single time. So. Next question from Megademon22. Did the episode's battle take place where Izzy was a few episodes ago? It looked like the same junkyard as Tai and Co entered it. I don't know what would be more disappointing, writing the other kids out of big moments continuously, or just not writing Izzy, Mimi, and Joe at all. And I think I didn't notice this until the question asked it, but I looked back and it's like, yeah, it does look a lot like that big battlefield that the Koshiro was flying through. But it's a little bit awkward then, and it's like, okay, so he was there and then flew away and then they entered it, and it's like that's kind of awkward, and they're like narrowly missing each other.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like in One Piece how like the crew always gets separated because like it's hard to write that many people, and then like you're trying to write that many people in a fight and they can all change their forms. Like I get it, but it just makes me sad because like Mimi and Joe are like ones that I'm really interested in, but they're not like the main three.
Yeah, I think this show handled it a lot better when it was like that one arc early on where they split off into two different groups and it was like each group felt equally weighted. But now where it's clearly like the important characters in one group and then everyone who's not important is off to the side. And I also had a depressing realization that like I think Sora's only in the main group this time with Taichi and Taku and Hikari because if she were off on her own, they would have nothing to say about her. Because like for Yamato, they can have him be running through a field and be like, take care of Takeru. For Koshiro, he's giving very important plot dumps. For Mimi, she's doing fun stuff all the time. Joe's also doing fun stuff. Well,
Joe is suffering.
Mimi's doing fun stuff at everyone else's expense. Joe's doing fun stuff at his own expense.
Yes.
Like everyone's having fun with Joe. But then it's like Sora, I feel like they wouldn't have anything to do with her because they usually don't, and I'm always let down by how the show handles Sora. So.
Yeah, my expectations were high because I was like, oh, I'm an adult now, and I was like, I'll appreciate Sora more. But she's like just the most confident person in the world, and she's boring.
Yeah, I think that's one of those weird things where like as a kid, a lot of people I remember like not loving Sora. And yeah, you'd hope that it's like, okay, were we just being sexist? And it's like a little bit, but also the show kind of made you do that because she was never that interesting. Well, okay, that's not because I feel like this show's version of Sora, like the original show's version of Sora, had really interesting arcs or an arc, but this one doesn't even have that. So
yeah. I think she got to kill the scary horse. So like this episode.
Oh, the Cerberus dog.
Or
and sorry, the she got to take down Dark Mangel on this episode.
Yeah.
But I saw that you screen capped the moment in last episode that I loved where she just stomped the Cerberus. Garudamon stomped the Cerberus down. That was great.
Yes, anytime Sora just like she just takes shit out, like she gets shit done. That's why it's like kind of like she's too competent. She's the most competent person to exist. Like when they got teleported into Digi World, she already had her camping gear, or like she made like a raft or something, and it's like she is unstoppable.
Yeah, I wish they leaned into that more.
Yeah.
Showed that off more.
But I do appreciate that her evolutions are very consistent, where like she will evolve, her Digimon will evolve to protect someone, will be like out of love, which I think is like it's a nice touch. And I'm sorry, I'm looking back at that cool shot of Garudamon being like, screw you.
to the question's point of like, they're not sure whether they would want the other kids right now in those moments or just not have them there at all. And it's like, my reaction is like, I guess that's nice that they're there in some fashion. And I think I like how the way this arc is writing the non-essential characters as off doing their own little thing and they check up on them each episode. I like better than the last arc where they were just all four of them were like off in a gazebo and it was just like every episode it was the same check-in with them. It's like, okay, they're still doing the thing. Okay, next episode, yeah, still doing the thing. And you could take a screenshot of them being in gazebo and it could be from any one of 6 episodes.
Yeah.
And I guess this arc still has a similar problem because you could take a picture of Joe being in the hot spring and be like, okay, it could be from any one of these episodes. But at least it's like they're doing different scenarios, each one of them. So like they have some personality to it.
And like even at the gazebo, like Kari was eavesdropping on them, and it took so long for like anything to happen from that. I really want there to be like an episode where we get like split Mimi and Joe or something, or we just get to see their like shenanigans or how they like get out.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I was so hopeful that like the fact that they were split off meant that there would be one episode per each of them, but I guess not. I don't know. So next question from Dak and Jackster: was Skullmon, I think they're referring to Skullmon, a corrupted Gatomon, or was she being used as his power source like a Dr. Robotnik scenario? Also, there's an amorphous dragon being powered by crystals, and the heroes are doing a lot of spin dash moves. I think it's a Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure : yeah, I don't know much about Sonic stuff, so I can't weigh in on that.
Neither do I.
But yeah, I think it's still, the jury's still out on whether Skull Knightmon was actually Gatomon or was just keeping Gatomon in his belly. I don't know. Like,
I think because the like weird voice was saying that they were kind of said they were two separate things. I think they do have to be like she has to be the power source or something. Is my thought, but
they said like there were 2 sacrifices, right?
Yeah.
So that could have meant Tailmon and Hikari.
Oh, you're right.
And there was that moment during the Lopmon info dump episode when like Lopmon kind of like reactivated, and then we see Patamon looking off to the side, and also Skull Knightmon looking off to the side. There was like, seems like Skull Knightmon's gonna be Tailmon, but I don't know.
I think it'd be interesting if it was a corrupted. If it was corrupted Gatomon, it would make Kari's weirdness make a lot more sense.
Like just her, implicitly like, trusting this partner for some reason.
But like power source also works because maybe she could feel that what was calling her was like tied to him or something.
Yeah.
But that's why we just need like, give me anything. But I feel like next episode isn't like, I don't have faith in this show to actually delve into Kari.
Yeah, I guess I would hope for, like we saw Patamon doing some self-reflection on like what has happened to him and why he's like hoping for Takaru and stuff. I hope that the Tailmon will have a similar kind of like reflective moment where we see how she ended up inside of Skull Knightmon or ended up becoming Skull Knightmon or whatever it is. So I'm hopeful for that, but I wouldn't bet on it for next week necessarily. Andy Lucas OE said, I guess we can take it that because Tailmon and Patamon were both corrupted, that's why they're the only Holy Digimon allowed / needed partners. perhaps in order to redeem/save them. I hope something similar is happening for Tai and Agumon, but given that we skipped the evolution sequence for Metal Greymon for quite some time, I doubt we'll see Machinimon again for now. And this is referencing the fact that in the Metal Greymon evolution sequence, you can see a brief flash of Machinimon. And so like that I kind of been like had been teased the whole time that Metal Greymon was appearing, and then finally happened when the Dark Evolution happened. But I think this is an interesting point that like why, if there are other holy Digimon that are still around, like Lopmon, were Tailmon and Patamon the only ones that got partners? And yeah, I don't know. It would make sense if it's because they've been corrupted and they need someone to save them. But I don't know. I feel like
Yeah.
did Takara really save Angemon? Kind of. The other kids saved him.
Yeah, but I guess they're just saving in terms of like because they were isolated, like they didn't reincarnate. Or I guess they didn't really reincarnate. They kind of just stayed the same.
Yeah, I think Angemon technically reincarnated recently.
Recently.
He was stuck as Angemon for a while, and then
he became the egg.
Yeah, but they've also contradicted themselves because they say that once you reincarnate, you don't remember any memories. And like Lopmon, mentioned that he was an exception to that once he like got his memories reactivated. But Angemon, after reincarnating as Patamon, like knew about Eldoradimon and stuff, and it's like this wasn't some like special exception where the memories reactivated. Patamon was just like, oh yes, I've known about Eldoradimon for a while. And it's like, why? Okay, sure. Aren't you a new baby that just got born? Like,
I guess because like Patamon was able to get the memory backs because of Angelmon, so maybe like Angelmon, like holy Digimon, are just built different or something.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Maybe that's the hand wavy reason. And like holy Digimon like threw me for a loop, but I like that there is like your kind of explanation that like Patamon was as well, so they makes them less like they're so different from the others. Because before I was like, are they like they're like the best ones? I was like, what? But it feels a bit better that holy Digimon. It doesn't just mean like they're literally God.
I actually really like the way this show has handled the like just the idea that the two, because even the original show, like the two like Tailmon and Patamon were always kind of like the special ones in the group, and especially Patamon, because like Patamon was like always like kind of like a tier higher. Like Angemon was almost as strong as the other Digimon that were a whole stage higher, kind of. So it's like I kind of appreciate the way the show reframed that to be like, oh, the two of them are actually from a different group and have been through different life experiences. That's an interesting reframing. I don't know if the show has ultimately lived up to that super well, but like it's an interesting concept to explore. So at Pastelmon Art said, I think I'm the only one who likes this episode at this point. I understand the criticisms, but I kind of like how Hikari went by her choice with Dark Knightmon. Instead of having her Jesus moments tied to homeostasis like Adventure 99 and Try. Do you see it this way? Like she had more agency? I think I agree with Pastelmon Art that like it's nice that this is not, her specialness is not because she's being possessed, but also like we were talking before, that we're still moments this episode where we're like, is she being possessed? We don't know. So my answer to this might vary depending on if we find out next episode that she was being possessed, then it's like, I don't know. I think she did have more agency in general, but
yeah, like I feel like she has more agency because it's not like something else taking over her, but her agency is so passive. But that's still like not every character has to be like Sora, like going out and be like, oh, I'm gonna fight everything. So it's okay to be like more like passive, but it's just like it barely feels like agency. Like it's better than that, like the other option, but it's still just very much like doing nothing. And like the one thing she does is like walk towards the light, and that's it.
Yeah, like I think passive agency can work. Like that moment in the original show where she chooses to give herself up to the enemy, and then like the problem I think with her agency in the show is that it's like it's so vague and nebulous that it's like, was that a consistent thought process she actually went through, or did she just kind of stand still and things happen to her? We don't really know.
Like everything. So I think like I guess it's just a matter of how you read it, and it could be that I'm reading it wrong. So like I'm excited for the show to prove me wrong, or just like to hear other interpretations of it as well. I think it's good. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And sorry, I have one more thing, is that they notice some like creatures fleeing, and Taichi is instant like, I want to fight them. And it's like, no, they're just going by. They're fleeing. And like a few episodes ago, Taichi like fought Parrotmon for no reason. Parrotmon was just chilling, and he's like, I'm gonna Sorry. I'm gonna mess that bird up.
I think Parrot Mom was attacking them, but I
It was
agree
just
with
like
you.
it was just like watching them, and he's just like, I'm gonna get that bird. Yes, I don't know. I just want Kari to be kind of like a bit more of a kid and just like speak to me, Kari. Sorry.
Oh no, that's a good transition. Let's get into our final thoughts of this episode.
Ooh.
I'm trying to think of like, in the end, I feel like this was a weird, very like deflationary episode. I'm looking at the polls that I put out on Twitter, like the average ratings of the episodes, and it's like since episode 26, the general like opinion has been rising, and this episode just like fell back down.
Yeah.
And I feel like the thing that is the most jarring about this episode is that it feels like the culmination of a Dark Knightmon arc. Like we've had Dark Knightmon as a villain basically since episode, I forget when he first appeared, but like the early 20s. And he's defeated in this episode in such an unceremonious way. And in the context of the episode, it makes sense. Like he's being like he's mid-sacrifice, he's being sacrificed, and then War Greymon just like splits through him, and it's like, okay, totally justified. Like, I mean, the fact that War Greymon was able to, the fact that Metal Greymon and Garurumon, so two ultimates, were able to fight Dark Knightmon to a standstill, I totally buy that War Greymon could defeat him easily. But we get this glimpse of this big plan to revive Millenniumon, and then it's like, okay, no, that's been resolved. And I feel like now we're just going to be, for the rest of the show, just waiting out for some other Digimon to come along and to start reviving Millenniumon again. And it's like, I don't know, it just feels like a very weird, like, my excitement has been deflated. But also, like, we're coming into I'm excited to see what's going on with Hikari and Tailmon. I'm excited to see the, like, premise for next episode just seems wacky and weird. So, like, I don't know how it's going to play out. But it kind of is like, I don't know, I guess my impression of this episode will vary a lot based on what the next episodes end up being. Because if this is like, if this does feel like that was the end of that arc and now we're in a totally different arc, then it's like, it'll be disappointing as the finale of it. But if it's just gonna feel like more of the same, then it's like, okay, it was a fine episode. Like it was, like we got Hikari and Tailmon together, and it was kind of predictable in the end, but it's fine.
Yeah.
So if I had to rate this episode out of 5 cute little Tailmon rings, I'd give it 2.5.
Okay.
Average. Average, a little bit below average, because a little bit disappointed. Because I expected some big plot twist, but
the focus on the tail ring was weird. Like, I feel like, because I did a little bit of looking up, so I know like a little bit more about it. But I almost was like, is there something like ominous about the tail ring? But
I think it's just like the most identifiable aspect of her design. So,
and I think for me, like, it felt like the last few episodes were kind of like building up to this, and then it like all of a sudden built up to something else. Like, oh, well, we're summoning Millenniumon, and I was like. And Faga, and I was like, what? So I think like that, it kind of like took what you were being built up to and just kind of like threw us all for a loop. I've definitely kind of agreed that hopefully the next episode you can kind of like make it a 2-parter, imagine it, and kind of like compare that together. I think I'll be a bit more generous and I'll give it a 3 out of 5, just because I'm a sucker for Kari, and I was just happy that she like actually kind of did something a little bit. So go Kari, go. And I don't know, I'm just excited for her to like talk to Tailmon, and maybe for Tailmon to have a little bit of angst like Patomon did, of being like all alone.
So would you consider Kari your MVP of the week then?
Ooh, that's what I was thinking it, or Sora, because she took out the thing. But I think I'm gonna say Kari, just because I am a sucker for Kari. Even though she didn't do anything, I just love Kari.
I'm kind of struggling to think of, because like I feel like I was disappointed by everyone.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who stood out this week, and I almost want to give it to the Vetamon cult, because there's like, that was the one like curveball that I didn't see coming.
Yeah.
And
Those, like, they threw me up so for a loop, especially because I had no idea what they were supposed to be, and I like almost thought they were created just for this. So like I was just like, why are there aliens? Like, I would almost give them like sub MVP. Or okay, I have on like Reddit, when I review like talk about different anime episodes, I had like the best little shit award for, and that was kind of like the most like troublemaker or just like doing their own stuff. So I'm gonna do a subheading of they could be the best little shit because they were just the most. What the hell is that?
Nice. So yeah, I feel weird like giving this such a like uncemented opinion. Like my opinion's like, okay, this will be a fine episode depending on next week's episode, and or it'll be like a really disappointing episode depending on next week's episode. So like, because
Yeah.
we're talking about it now. How do I feel now? I don't know. I'm very undecided. But yeah, let's look towards next week. Next week it's gonna be episode 34, Hikari and Tailmon. It looks like they're gonna be in they're doing with Sea Digimon, and it's clearly going to focus on Hikari and Tailmon's relationship, so I'm excited for that.
Yay!
There are a bunch of random Sea Digimon. There's Mambomon, which are the fish things with like gloves, like punching gloves. Manta Raymon. There's it seems like an Anomalocarimon, the scorpion thing. My favorite Digimon looking forward to is Daipenmon, who is a giant penguin with 2 ice cream popsicle sticks for weapons, but like it seems like from the preview there's some like underground city in this giant like fossil skeleton shell, and it seems like Daipenmon is using his ice cream popsicles as oh my god, what I'm looking like as paddles to push this thing. So like just seems like a bizarre, like if I were to think like where would an episode titled Hikari and Tailmon be set, I never would have guessed any of these elements. Like
that's amazing. I kind of hope there's a really weird Digimon that looks like a squid, and then you turn it upside down and it's like a woman.
Oh
so
yeah,
I want that one to be
it. Yeah.
Yes, Calamarimon needs to come back.
Yeah. So one thing I like to do is look at this like cast of characters going to get next week and ask if any of them are going to talk. Like, is Hikari going to talk? Is Tailmon? They have to talk, right? Both of them.
Please. I feel like maybe Gatomon has to talk. If Gatomon doesn't talk, I'm going to flip.
Would you be okay? But would you be okay with if Tailmon talked and Hikari didn't?
Ooh,
that'd be bad too. Right?
That'd be bad too, because she'd just be like, But I feel like that's the most likely thing to happen. Is that Kari just gets stuff explained to her, and she's like, "Oh, I see," and just like that explains. I'm still mad when he's like, "Oh, what do you see?" She's like, "I don't know," and it's like, use your words, cuz. Like, I don't know. I hope Kari talks. I'll say the penguin will not speak.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I hope the penguin speaks, but I doubt. I don't think it's gonna happen.
No, instead, the dog bus will talk. That is my theory.
How are they going to get from a dog bus to underwater? How's that going to happen?
It's going to become a sea dog.
Oh, I was surprised with the first scene like last week when they go inside the dog bus and it's like, oh, it has an interior. It has like, so maybe there's another part of it that is an underwater cavern.
Yeah,
you never know.
It's like how the car becomes like a sub in like James Bond. That's what I want.
Oh.
Or they can digivolve.
Oh, maybe, yeah. And now I'm just imagining like it transforming in like that skeleton thing, like it just like the skeleton like turns inside out and it becomes like a skeleton on the outside. That's a horrifying image. So I don't think about it. Well, all right. That brings us to the end of the show. Last week's Digiprompt was, if you had to be saved by a fleet of giant Digimon, what kind of giant animal, aside from a dog, would you want them to be based on? And my favorite answer came in from @LeonRioja, and they said chubby bunnies with wheels. I love the image they attach to that with this giant chubby bunny, but also the imagery of them just having wheels underneath them. It's great. I love it.
Aww.
So this week's Digiprompt is, in honor of Millenniumon's Vedamon cult, what kind of Digimon would you want in a cult worshipping you, and why?
Ooh.
So send your Digiprompt responses and general feedback to podages@gmail.com, to Podages on Twitter, or in the episode comments on our website, podages.com.
Nice. If you say Vedamon, I'm judging you. They're creepy.
Don't go for Vedamon. It's already been done. It's tacky at this point. Come on, like. So if this is your first episode, make sure you subscribe wherever you find podcasts, and share the podcast with your friends who will let themselves get captured because they just believe in you so much. And please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It only takes a couple of minutes, and each review helps a ton. So if you want to find me on social media, I am Definitely Jeff on Twitter. And you can also check out my general anime podcast, Love It or Weeb It, where we recently are closing out the last anime season. And the next episode we're going to release is about a full review on Great Pretender, which is I want to say good anime on Netflix, but also it's very mixed towards the second half of the show, and it is kind of a fascinating show to watch because it has so much potential, and then it's also so frustrating in the end. So I think I don't know, if you watched it, check out that episode because I think there's a lot of interesting things to talk about that show. But Kendra, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me on. You can follow me on Twitter at Sniper of My Heart, and I'm on 2 different podcasts, MHA Pod and Haikyuu Pod. I almost forgot the titles of my own podcast because I was looking at Love It or Weep It, but those are my podcasts. Check them out.
Awesome. So thank you everyone for listening, and I'll be back next week to talk about episode 34, Hikari and Tailmon. Bye!
Bye!
And remember, never stop Digivolving. Digimon lore is full of lots of it's basically not canonical unless it's only, other people refer to it as the null canon because it's just in lieu of any other canon is the default thing if nothing's been brought up. But some of it is very odd. I'm looking at the entry for Plotmon/Salamon, the rookie form of Gatomon/Tailmon, and it mentions that Plotmon was an experimental Digimon created by Digimon researchers to imitate pets, and it's what? That's not in the actual lore of Adventure at all. But that's out there as null canon lore. But
okay.
Yeah. So anyway, the Digimon lore is weird and multifaceted, has lots of different angles to it, and I kind of wish it was reframed as all that lore was legends or myth or whatever. But now that you mention Hikari claiming Skull Knightmon, it just makes me think that oh, this is a Nuzlocke run. She entered this new region and was the first Digimon I see, that's my Digimon. She has to go with it. Those are the rules. I feel bad that if the next couple episodes are better Hikari episodes, then it's oh no, I'll feel bad for having you on for the worst one.
No, but that's the thing is that it's hard because you're just going based off of episode title. So that's what I get. So it makes sense, but I'm happy I got to talk about Kari and kind of maybe complain a little bit about her, how she's been portrayed so far, but I'm hopeful about the future. And I'm sorry I dropped the F-bomb. And that's the one rule.
You made it very easy for me to edit because I can just take you repeating the line again. So
yay. Okay, but yes, thank you for having me on again. I'm definitely gonna get back into it just because
sweet. Awesome.
It's very nostalgic for me, and it's just fun seeing Digimon I recognize and then other Digimon I'm what the hell is that thing?